Hi everyone, how are you today? In this video, I'm going to be going over some cozy reads for fall. It's just starting to be the fall season here where I live in the Pacific Northwest, and the trees are turning, the weather's still pretty warm, but I'm really excited for fall. I always am. Regardless of where you live, I hope you enjoy these books, and really they can be read any time of year, but I chose them because they are nostalgic or cozy, and also perhaps not as often read as some other classics. So hope you enjoy this. Let's get right into it. But first, actually, I wanted to talk about commonplace books. So I've been seeing on BookTube a lot of videos about commonplace books. Really, it's just a book or a notebook that you use to take notes in. And I used to do this, I used to do it a lot digitally, like just with a notepad file, but I've been getting back into, physical journaling and stuff very regularly, so I just thought I'd take one of my notebooks and start doing that, and really just writing down thoughts related to the reading that I'm reading. So I would recommend this if you have trouble remembering what you read, because just taking notes, writing down your favorite quotes, it's a good way to go back later and, jog your memory, but also gives you something tangible to hold on to in memory of your reading experience. So check out those videos. Maybe I'll link to some of them in the description. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there as something I've just started doing and I'm really finding valuable. First cozy read I wanted to talk about is Embers by Sándor Máry. Sándor Máry was a Hungarian author in the 20th century. This is a historical fiction novel, and it says, in a secluded woodland castle, an old general prepares to receive a rare visitor, a man who was once his closest friend, but whom he has not seen in 41 years. Over the ensuing hours, host and guest will fight a duel of words and silences, accusations, and evasions. They will exhume the memory of their friendship and that of the general's beautiful, long-dead wife. So, not a lot of action in this book, but I picked this up a few years ago and found it to be very touching and very, very cozy. It all takes place in this castle in the forest. And it's just a great novel about changing times, changing people, how the past affects the present. If you like those kinds of books, then I think you would like this book. It might be slow for some people, but I really found it to be a page turner, actually, because I really enjoyed the dialogue and the historical asides. So, would recommend Embers. And I actually probably would read more books by Máry if I could find them in translation. But this one was very much worth reading. Another book that I feel is a great one for fall is The Golden Pot and Other Tales by E.T.A. Hoffmann. I feel like E.T.A. Hoffmann is kind of underrated because when people think Gothic literature, they think the Bronte sisters, Dracula, maybe Anne Radcliffe. But Hoffmann was a German romantic, and he also went kind of into that supernatural Gothic territory. This book contains some short stories and novellas: The Golden Pot, The Sandman, Princess Brambilla, Master Flea, and My Cousin's Corner Window. I have to say I didn't really care for Princess Brambilla or the Master Flea, but the other three stories I really enjoyed, and I'm not really sure who I'd compare him to because his stories are so strange and so of the romantic era. It's difficult to describe, but you just gotta try it. Spooky, yes, but more weird than spooky. The first two stories in particular, and then the last story, My Cousin's Corner Window, is more in the realm of realism, and it's about two people just looking out the window at the marketplace. But I think this is a great cozy read. I read it around Christmas time, actually. And yeah, the first couple stories I found difficult to put down. So check this out if you're looking for something Gothic that's kind of off the beaten path. Okay, another I don't know, gothic's the word, but definitely a spooky but cozy read is The Man Who Was Thursday, A Nightmare by G.K. Chesterton. Now, this is also a very strange book. It's framed as a thriller and a story of anarchy, that kind of thing. It takes place in the late Victorian, early Edwardian era, so think Sherlock Holmes, but it's so strange. There's a little bit of steampunk in it and just kind of this random Alice in Wonderland stuff where he's going from thing to thing. But let me read the premise here. So, Chesterton's surreal masterpiece is a psychological thriller that centers on 7 anarchists in turn-of-the-century London who call themselves by the names of the days of the week. Chesterton explores the meanings of their disguised identities in what is a fascinating mystery and ultimately a spellbinding allegory. This is, like most of his novels, religiously framed, but the thing about this book is you don't have to read it like that. Although, honestly, if you want to get the ending, you kind of have to. But I still enjoyed it. I read it 3 times just to understand it. But it's very charming and a little spooky. And there's just some wonderful dialogue and humor in this. So I would recommend it if you like late Victorian literature. Next one is not actually fiction. This is Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. I really liked this book. I don't read a lot of the old, true classics, so-called. Seneca, 4 BC to AD 65, was the guiding hand of the Roman Empire. His inspired reasoning derived mainly from the Stoic principles, which had originally been developed some centuries earlier in Athens. This is really a bunch of letters to somebody he's mentoring, essentially, and he just divulges his wisdom on all kinds of topics. I also enjoyed some of the historical elements, like he comments on the gladiators and, all of that kind of violence. He comments on, different people he knows. I mean, there's so much he covers in here, it's really hard to say it's about one specific thing, but if you're at all interested in Stoic philosophy, I would recommend this. I don't think this is like his complete letters, it's been edited, but there are so many great quotes in this book, and I really liked the translation. It made it very accessible. So, Letters from a Stoic. Last but not least, An Artist of the Floating World by Kazuo Ishiguro. This again falls into the historical, nostalgic, kind of cozy book. This is about a man, a Japanese gentleman, post-World War II. He was an artist in his youth. Not only an artist, but like a propaganda artist. So now he's facing this new world where Japan lost the war and, it's very Americanized. It's about him and his family, mostly about him looking back and trying to assess his decisions that he made in his youth and his beliefs. This is not a fast-paced book, as you can imagine. It's like getting into the mind of an elderly person as they reflect on their life and past generations. But if you like that kind of thing, I think you'll like this book. Some people have compared it to The Remains of the Day, which I also read. I actually liked this book a bit better because of the Japanese setting and the ambiguity of the narrator. That kind of nuance really appeals to me in literature. So check this out if you want to learn a little bit more about Japanese history, or if you just enjoy those kind of nostalgic novels. That's all I had for this video. Thanks so much for watching. What kind of books do you like to read during the fall? I often go for those Victorian novels, like The Man Who Was Thursday. But I am always looking out for similar kinds of books, and it's always fun to try something that you may never have heard of before and be pleasantly surprised. So let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, and please like the video if you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.